right, we're going to get started today. Good morning and welcome to the 70th Annual Cortland Recreation Conference. I am Sarah and I am on the Conference Planning Committee. This morning we have one recorded session, Adaptive Dance with Jasmine's Beat by Jasmine Matthews. Let's see, it is. I will get it up and we will get started here.
Yeah,
that looks Maddox. Mommy is trying to do something. No, not.
Hi everyone, welcome to Adaptive Dance with Jasmine's Beat, a workshop explaining to you the pros and cons of entrepreneurship, being a recreation therapist, as well as having a passion for dance and reaching out to the community of persons with disabilities. My name is Jasmine Mathew. I am the founder and CEO of Jasmine's Beat. We're currently located in Frisco, Texas, but being virtual for now, all over the world. What is Jasmine's Beat? Jasmine's Beat is an adaptive dance company providing adaptive dance classes which are inclusive for all ages and all abilities and accommodate sensory sensitivities. What is our mission? Jasmine's Beat aims to empower people of all ages, sex, race, and abilities to embrace the power of dance and healthy movement. We yearn to make aware the avenue of dance for health, emotional self-esteem, and social and physical well-being. We aspire to enable the fusion of any cultural music and dance. We provide education on rhythm, beat, and sequence of intercultural dance, as well as promote creativity and self-expression through dance. We formulate goals with customers in terms of time used, type of dance learned, final production, and the means to enlighten others about adaptive dance beyond obstacles. We will assist in facilitating exhibitions of dance creations, as well as rehabilitative goals. Finally, our mission is to be skilled in having fun through dance and to share this skill as a continued passion in the community. I know that was a mouthful, but there is so much to be explored when it comes to using the creative arts and expressive arts as an actual business and something envelop into a community. So a little background about myself. I wrote music throughout school. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I went to St. Basil Academy High School and Temple University. I went to Temple University originally for physical therapy, and I changed the track and joined recreation therapy. So my degrees from back then, it was a Bachelor of Science in Health Studies with concentration in Therapeutic Recreation and a minor in psychology. I've also worked at psychiatric hospitals and hospitals in Philadelphia. As far as dance goes, I actually learned a classical Indian dance form, Bharatanatyam, since about the age of 6. I've performed on various occasions since then. My family and myself were in the Indian Association in Philadelphia, and we participated in the Indian Day Parade. We performed in that in Pennsylvania. Also at Temple University, the Indian Students Association at Temple also provided performances every year, and I was a big participant in that as well. After that, after college, I moved to New York, and I also continued working as a recreation therapist in children's rehab hospitals, as well as nursing homes. I bounced around from population to population, just because I wanted to see a difference in goal writing and see if there was a better fit for me. I enjoyed all residents of that nursing home or assisted living facility. And that actually, in turn, increases your knowledge as a recreation therapist about different interventions that you can take along the way. And it also promotes intergenerational learning, going from population to population. I worked in a pediatric facility after I worked at a nursing home as a director of therapeutic recreation, and I used those resources, and from time to time I could incorporate intergenerational learning between the two facilities, even pen pal writing, using the different activities to encourage movement and exercise between the two facilities. And I think that's when I realized I have used dance in every facility or population that I've worked with, and they've all enjoyed it. It was something that went around everywhere, and I personally have a passion for it. I also worked for Aria Dance Academy in Nyack, New York, as a dance instructor for Bollywood classes for children ages 4 to 18. I also taught adult Bollywood classes in Lynbrook, New York, at Tropics Dance and Fitness Studio, and I also taught Bali Fit classes at Oceanside Fitness in Oceanside, New York. So a lot of Bollywood, and I've always been curious about the other styles of dance as well. Listening to Janet Jackson, that was all part of growing up, and wanted to learn more about choreography. And I was always part of musicals growing up in high school. So because of all of that big combination, I was always interested and wanted to see if I can combine my passion for dance along with what I went to college for therapeutic recreation. I moved to Texas in 2014, and I continued teaching dance part-time through a company called Stretch and Grow that would contract out to local preschools. And I began training in introductory ballet and jazz to teach to those classes. And that gave me an idea. And I wanted to introduce adaptive fusion dance classes for persons with special needs or disabilities. What I have found is that it takes a lot of persistence to start a class like that, let alone a business. I have been here for 6 years, and about 3 years of that was a lot of persistence to see if I can get a foot in the door at local studios or schools, depending on who you know, to get a class started. They have to have a lot of faith in you, and if you don't have a following already of clients, then it's even harder. So I had my own kids enroll in a local dance studio for 3 years before that, and I have always put a word in and tried to get my foot in the door and tried to incorporate the fact that I was a therapist and I've had this many years of experience. I've actually currently had 20 years of experience as a recreation therapist. So I think between the multitude of populations that I've worked with, as well as my years of experience, definitely helps to speak towards what you know. Entrepreneurship is not an easy business. I attempted to do it in New York, and I think what I failed to realize is that you have to research and feel out your client population depending on the state or country that you live in. New York is a very tough place to start a small business, I think, in my opinion. I started out as an LLC, and if you're not making consistent income, then you are actually losing money. So I dissolved that and I started new in Texas, and I started as a DBA because doing business as is what DBA is, and you can start slowly, and if your income is not consistent, it's okay because it is your own business and there is no extra tax liability against you with that. And gradually, I believe that as this business gets more consistent, then I can adjust it to an LLC, maybe even add on a nonprofit organization purpose as well. Currently, it is just me as the owner. I am the choreographer for all the dance songs as well. I do have guest teachers that are also recreation therapists, occupational therapists, persons who just want to volunteer for dance classes, persons who have experience working with the population with disabilities. And I also have persons with disabilities who have offered to assist as well. I currently have a student who is hard of hearing, and she provides American Sign Language choreography, and she is coming in and training to be a Jasmine's Beat assistant teacher. So that's a little bit of background about myself. I would love to incorporate more staff, more interns, more students. Just the more the better, because it actually will educate myself as well, in incorporating more dance techniques, more adaptiveness, just more education all around. And it's quid pro quo. Whatever I know, the new person will know as well. So it's definitely beneficial. Currently, if you go on my website, www.jasminesbeat.com, you will find ways to reach out to me and ways to train. I have an dance workshop that you can register for. I don't have a date currently, but it will be coming up fairly soon. And after you take that, I also have, if you are interested in becoming a Jasmine's Beat instructor where you live, you would train with me virtually over a year, and it would be paid, but not the full amount as an instructor would. But there is a pay, so something. And then you would contract between Jasmine's Beat and a local studio or a school near you to start Jasmine's Beat location for a class. And then we could go from there. So if you're further interested, you can go to my website. Again, it's www.jasminesbeat.com. So what is adaptive fusion dance? Adaptive fusion dance involves including many different types of dance styles, techniques, and music. Jasmine's Beat recognizes this form of instruction and uses an introductory level for these for most adaptive fusion dance classes provided. Currently, adaptive fusion dance has taken choreography based on the foundations of ballet, jazz, Bollywood, and hip-hop. We are currently looking for ways to include tap, ballroom, African dance, Polynesian dance, and many others in the future. Adaptive fusion dance also uses contemporary music as well as traditional dance music for instruction, as well as recitals. Adaptive fusion dance also welcomes inclusivity of all abilities and all ages, therefore promoting inclusion towards all dance arenas. So how is adaptive fusion dance therapeutic, and how can we make it into therapeutic goals for recreation therapy purposes? Some of the things that I have done is, because I work as a recreation therapist in the community setting, I have also brought my clients in based on their interest for dance, because it has to be an intrinsically motivated reason to attend dance class for these students. I bring them in and I incorporate their goals that we are currently working on, dependent on their needs, and I make sure to remind them what goals they are working on throughout the class, despite the fact that there may be other students in the class. One of the ways we make it therapeutic is a small class size. Although this may not seem beneficial financially, it is actually beneficial in maintaining attentiveness and loyalty with the student-teacher's relationship. So some of the therapeutic goals that we have used over a period of time in our classes with our students, for example, a student will practice introducing themselves and to others and making eye contact. And a lot of times, dependent on your disability, you're not able to make eye contact. So we would change that goal to student will make a visual check-in with a student or the teacher a certain number of times per class. Another one could be student will follow directions and practice turn-taking skills. We often do this in the beginning of the class where we have something similar to circle time in preschool where we enjoy some socialization games, some icebreaker games, and have them verbalize or sign language or dance to encourage communication between the students and the teachers. And that's where they would practice these skills. Another therapeutic goal would be student will use right hand or left hand to reach across midline. And that is crossing over tends to be a need across disabilities, I have noticed in this class. And that whether you are in a wheelchair, whether you are standing, whether you have limited mobility, that always tends to be a goal that we are working on. So we use that a lot with dance. Student will attempt one class with only one break and no meltdowns. A lot of times students with disabilities have behavioral concerns, and that's a challenge that we encourage to have a goal for through the class. It is pretty much a set goal that every class you have 1 5-minute break for water or rest, and if they need more than that, we provide it during the class. However, if there is a goal that the caregiver or the student knows they need to make, we attempt to provide that as well. So if the student is not able to take just one break and they need more, we will have it at a certain time and we will provide reminders and we will encourage that to prevent more meltdowns. And this is typically not the case for neurotypical dance classes. The teacher cannot provide the extra breaks throughout the class, and it could also provide distraction. So a lot of times the classes that we provide are specific to students with disabilities. As much as I would like to have a truly inclusive class, at this moment it is specific for their sensory needs, and eventually we would like to do a joint effort with a neurotypical dance class, but being that someone who is trained Jasmine Mathew also providing assistance to them.
They knocked my head down. They knocked my head down.
Stop.
What? What did you say?
In the long run, where
Can someone mute their
starts
computer,
as a
please?
small, focused class with therapy goals would be educating the community more. Another therapeutic goal could be student will mirror dance choreography with minimal redirection. More often than not, students have challenges with understanding left and right. And so therefore, standing in front and mirroring is somewhat easier of a task. Definitely not easy to do in the beginning, but that is something that is capable to achieve as a goal. And minimal redirection meaning without saying left or right, without saying keep moving, all those verbal cues would not be as necessary. is what the goal would provide. Student will be assertive with others regarding personal space or show understanding of others' personal space. In dance class, we do have markers on the floor, like tape that's marked as an X. I do have special markers that I have used that are star-shaped, but they stick up off the ground just slightly, and they're soft. They are provided when we have someone who is blind or partially blind and need to find their space, their spot to stand on. And this space or spot that students stand on provides their home base. And it also makes them understand that there is a space around each and every student, and that is their personal space. We do discuss personal space during that circle time in the beginning of the class as well, and the importance of it. So it is based on discussion as well. Another goal that we attempt at times, a student will be weight bearing on toes for approximately 30 seconds. There are some disabilities that prevent weight bearing on different areas of the body, and dance is definitely a place where we can use those goals and provide challenges for them through, whether it be through warm-up, whether it be through exercise, whether it be through stretching or choreography, or even props, holding props and multitasking and not realizing that they are weight bearing is a great way to achieve those goals as well. Another typical therapeutic goal is about rhythm. The student will count or clap hands while performing choreography when prompted to promote knowledge of rhythm and space, as well as promote muscle memory to each count. It has been shown in several studies that understanding music and clapping and understanding rhythm and space actually benefits both hemispheres of the brain, therefore affecting how well you do with activities that are provided from both sides of the brain. So in the long run, if you are working on something that is not necessarily creative-based, it's insinuating that, providing therapy with music and understanding clapping and rhythm and space could promote other skills as well in the long run. Those are just a couple of examples of therapeutic goals that we could attain during adaptive fusion dance. So the training qualifications for a jazz and speed instructor, I lightly touched upon as far as being a student teacher. Eventually, what we would like to do is provide lead instructors, and those instructors should have over a year experience working with us, as well as having their own training. So whether they are a physical therapist, occupational therapist, music therapist, or a recreation therapist, we would like to provide someone who has that type of training to work with students with disabilities and promote community awareness and inclusiveness. And as well as the fact that when you are a professional who works with that population, you are also required to do continuing education, which makes you the top leading source for therapy and providing therapeutic goals for these clients. And that is the most professional we can provide through our classes. And it's a standard of practice for us, because if not, and if you do not have that type of experience or training, then you are actually opening yourself up to injuries, to ethical cautions, to safety issues during your classes. So this is the safest method to provide the best therapeutic dance class for these students. There is a training workshop for adaptive dance training as well as for the instructors. The adaptive dance instructor workshop, the manual is actually peer-reviewed, and it is currently reviewed by Jess Amato, who is another CTRS. She is the founder of Platform to Play. You should definitely check her out. She is also on Instagram, and it has the website platformtoplay.com. She is also accompanied by Lindy Waldmeyer, who is a licensed music therapist, and she is the therapy assistant director at North Texas Performing Arts. So those are the two people that have peer-reviewed my manual for the instructor workshop. So we have standards of practice, we have peer review for our manuals, and we also have, after the manual is given out to our instructor trainees, we also have evaluations that take place to see how we can further build our workshops better for teachers and students. And we also have our standards of practice and a non-discriminatory clause. Also, we are insured. That is something else that, as an entrepreneur, you definitely have to keep in mind to have. So it's a lot of extra startup costs, and then they become annual, and more often than not, there is you find better ways of accommodating your needs. I actually needed to get personal coverage for being a recreation therapist in the community. So I used that same insurance coverage as a contract therapist to also cover Jasmine's dance classes as well. So under me, you would be covered, but I would also prefer, because if you would be in a different location, that you get your own insurance coverage. So going back to those therapeutic goals, what I would have liked to do is provide you with a set of physical goals, emotional goals, cognitive goals, social goals. But I cannot do that because of the umpteen amount of disabilities that requires a varied amount of goals. And they are, as you are well aware, all across the spectrum. So I can address some of the interventions and the goals that we've taken with a few of disabilities that we've come across to show you how our dance classes provide goals, challenges, and accomplishments. Currently, if someone is under the autism spectrum, we address a lesson plan for the class. We question if they remember what's next, and give them plenty of breaks for water, restroom, electronic checks, deep breathing exercises. And we assist in providing the goal of reaching their executive functioning skills. Another type of disability that we have come across is cerebral palsy, which also has a plethora of other concerns and challenges that come along the way. They may feel isolated. They may have adaptive equipment that make them feel that they are self-conscious. Something that we do as instructors is that we do not focus on their adaptive equipment. We talk to them and we verbalize in detail about each movement activity and how we can have them participate in that adaptive fashion. Hand-over-hand assistance may help. Redirection, reminders, providing praise about specific achievements and movement. They are all ways that we intervene with them. And another thing is that the adaptations can be minor or they can be major. If they are in a wheelchair or if they have limited mobility, a simple movement of shoulders, moving them up and down versus a gross motor movement might be a big achievement for them. Visually, if they can look up and down instead of moving their head up and down, is another adaptation to reaching a goal in this scenario. Down syndrome is another disability that we have come across. These students are independent seeking. They are trying to have them find a friend to have as a partner during dance class is very beneficial in this sense. They are typically looking for socialization goals. We discuss facial expressions during the class to have them understand the benefits and the appropriateness of different facial expressions towards different situations in class, and it carries on into their home learning environment. We also we describe dance as a picture to these students so they can better understand movements and how little or big the movement should be. Another disability that we have come across is Prader-Willi syndrome. We give these students lots of breaks. We offer lots of choices. Again, these types of interventions and goals cut across a lot of other disabilities as well. They actually also require lots of encouragement when they are feeling self-pity or self-doubt. Whether or not that cuts across other disabilities, this is actually a pretty widespread issue amongst students with this syndrome. They can mentally break down in the middle of class. They can just shut down and not participate. And we allow that to happen, but what we do attempt is for them to come back at each class and attempt again. Even if it's 5 minutes out of a 45-minute class, it is still a benefit. The parents still see this as, okay, something is working. It's keeping their attention. It's getting them interested. And hopefully the goal would be to add more minutes to their amount of participation and less meltdowns. They typically have poor tone. Their stance needs strength and flexibility and coordination. I've had a student who participated in strength and flexibility exercises, and one of our goals was to accomplish the downward dog pose in yoga, and she was not able to bend forward in September. And this was something that we constantly ended the class with, this section of stretching and flexibility, whether it be holding onto the wall, holding onto a ballet bar, sitting on the floor, and that turned into a full downward dog pose by June the following year. So although it was time-taking, it was also beneficial for her to learn. I feel, and the parents of the student feel, that this would not have taken place if she did not participate in our class. So that is an example of one of the benefits of our class. Another disability that we have come across is blindness. Like I explained before, I have provided tactile stars on the floor. So when they're dancing, they dance barefoot. They come in and I give them several minutes to explore the room, to understand where everything is, to count their steps needed to walk across. When I am establishing choreography for them, I stand in front of them and I let them feel my head with their hands, feel my hands when I'm doing a movement and stating what I'm doing that they need to mirror, so that they understand how big or small the movement is and what their mental picture is of that movement. I also provide a method of comfortableness, so that when they are doing freeze dance, they don't bump into walls. There's a lot of verbalization in that class. I also state dance as a picture or a feeling for intensity. So saying that you're as high as the sky means that they're going to be stretching out their arms, for example, or that something is really big in nature or really loud. Loud stars also means big star jumps. But a lot of times I can't, or they can't feel the teacher teaching it, so that's why there's a lot of verbalization. Some of the cognitive or social emotional goals that we try to attain during class, those goals are reached through our circle time, socialization, or icebreaker game. A lot of times we do activities where we verbalize or display ways to express things that build our self-esteem. For example, we play a game where we roll the dice. So I have big fuzzy dice that we roll, and we say, my favorite places, and these are some examples. My favorite television show is, my favorite movie is. We discuss that, or if I were a millionaire, I would, and it would facilitate discussion and conversation, and therefore building relationships and friendships. And that is also a game that they can take home and play with their friends and their family members. Another item that we do is we talk about something I did well today, something I had fun with, something I felt proud about today. And we go around the room discussing that. The take-home value from that is that we tell them you can do this on their own. And this is something that I've provided as well. It is a self-esteem journal. And they can write this down on a daily basis. And it brings out a positive experience, self-esteem, positive self-image. And this is something that once they do it, possibly more people in their household can help them with it. Maybe they might continue it, and that will keep building, which is the whole point of that activity, is to continue it at home. Another thing particular to our class is that prior to beginning the class, we have the caregivers or parents fill out the form for them, discussing with us as the teacher any needs or accommodations that need to be met, as well as any leisure interests that they are interested in as the student, prior to the student coming in the class. Then, after the student has entered the class, we discuss throughout these different games and activities what their leisure interests and pursuits are, and if there are any similarities between them and the other classmates that they have, possibly providing opportunities for more further friendships outside of our dance class. I think as an entrepreneur, something that you definitely need to work on is networking, whether it be with the family members, with the other students, the siblings of the other students, other therapists, social workers, other dance teachers, other business owners. It will actually also help you not only professionally, but also with self-care. If they can tell you how to prevent burnout, what they do in certain situations, it is all extremely helpful. I know it's helped me. At the beginning of this year, prior to the pandemic, I actually had expanded my classes so that I was also providing classes. I currently provide classes for Next Step Dance for students ages 4 all the way up to adult for a variety of disabilities, and it's an adaptive fusion dance class. I also provide adaptive choreography for North Texas Performing Arts. They have various locations. The main one is based in Plano. And what is pending now, which I began in the beginning of the year, is a class at For the Love of Dance. And that was primarily for preschool or school age kids that were being homeschooled that were looking for a dance class during the daytime hours. And I also had a class that was supposed to begin and is put on hold right now at the Dallas VA for veterans. I actually am also certified as a Chair 1 fitness instructor. So a lot of the VA dance classes can be done in a seated position or with limited mobility positions, and therefore I can adapt the dance classes for that as well. And I also, again, have it postponed, but it is coming up, a class at the Scottish Rite Hospital for Children. It is a rehab facility for orthopedic surgeries. And that would have been a class with volunteers within the hospital, as well as the other therapists who would be there for assistance for those students. The ages vary between infants all the way up to adults. Some of the things that I would like to do to expand Jasmine's Beat is to turn this wonderful year of the pandemic, just kidding, to turn lemonade from all the lemons that we've gotten this year, all the postponing, all the canceling, all of that into, hey, remember me from last year? And to incorporate more classes, a different variety of classes, more Zooming, if possible, after all of this is done, to those who cannot come into a building, to those who have medical reasons to not leave a facility, or if someone is on isolation but would like to get more physical rehab through dance. And same thing goes with the Dallas VA if there's someone who's not able to come out of their room, but this can be an option as well. So we are learning and furthering ourselves. Another option is for those who want to learn from out of state and possibly help us instruct more classes. That would be my next couple of steps. Something that I've always had a fondness for is trying to accommodate those who have limited mobility or are in wheelchairs and have a wheelchair-specific dance class. There are actually other wheelchair-specific dance companies. This company is not just specific to that. It is just because we are trained as therapists to work with all different disabilities. It actually comes across to me as being too specific, but that is a class that I would like to. So I know everyone is waiting to get up and move around for this workshop. So let's attempt to do some of the warm-ups that we use during our adaptive fusion dance class. Here's just an example. We start with marching, hopping, feet wide apart. Start with dips, hand by your chest. Good job. We're going to reach across, push. Keep going. A lot of verbal cues get given here. Jump rope. Good job. Jumping jacks. And if they can't do that, they can also do side steps. I'm going to show you an adaptation that we do for people that are sitting in wheelchairs. For hops, lift our arms and shoulders up. Arm up one at a time. Push across. If they can't extend all the way, they can move their bodies. And if they really don't have any level of twisting, they can also go right across with just their hands. Okay, moving on. Arm circles. circles, which can also be done in a seated position. Floor drum circles. Good job. Rule of thumb, we like to count. When we count backwards to provide encouragement, just like a missile shuttle launch. So, marching in place. Good job. Keep going. And bring up those knees to high knees. March it out. Try to jump and run with high knees. Slow it down, giving your knee a high five. Seated adjustment, arm to knee. They can try lifting their knee. They're able to do that too. If not, or if they want to do a little bit more, elbow to knee. And when we count, when I said we're counting backwards, for example, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. March it out. March out wide. March back in. Shuffle step. Forward and back. Crisscross. Feet together, hop side to side. And for seated position, you can go from side to side with your feet, with their hand for weight bearing, balance back behind them, or they can bring their knees up and down. So that was an example of an adaptive fusion warm-up workout. Usually incorporates a couple more steps, but the reason for repetition was just to show you how we would adapt it to different levels of mobility. Another thing that we use to continue is we use a song with a lighter tempo. It's one that we can lower the volume to, so it's almost like background music. And this is when we have everyone stay in a circle format, whether they be sitting, standing, kneeling. We typically have our class that we have weekly sitting on the floor or sitting in the wheelchair. And we do different icebreaker games during this point. So we wave hello to everyone, we acknowledge our fellow classmates, and we talk about how the week has been going. It's a good way of release because it's not to the same people that we see at home, especially during this season of COVID-19. It's nice to see different faces and hear different things, different stories. And then we discuss our favorites, things about ourselves. Who doesn't like talking about themselves? It's a point of making yourself feel good too. And we get to know each other a little bit better. Another game that we do is we go around the room and we use a different part of our body to spell out our names. And we keep going around the room. So, according to the music, whether it's fast tempo or slow tempo. For example, if I was going to write a J with my arm, I would just use my arm and no other part of my body. I would do this for an A, S, M, I, N, and E. And they can get as creative as they want. I've had students who just use their toes. I have students that use their head. I have students who use their elbows. So the creativity is really encouraged during this point. That is just one of the examples that we use during this class. So moving on, I am going to move on to the next part of our class, which is the choreography. And dependent on the type of students that I have, I usually feel out the room and see if they are willing to do a full 30-minute portion of learning choreography, or if they would need to go 10 to 15 minutes and then have a break in between. I will, no matter what, give them a break during the middle of my class. It's just a matter of when, if it would be in between the choreography, which is usually the most intense part of the class, or if it would be right after. More often than not, it is right in between. So I give it about 15 minutes of learning and attempting to copy and do with the music again. A lot of repetition. And then I give them basically a mental break of 5 minutes to go do whatever they need to do for 5 minutes and then come back. And they're typically ready to get back in again. So let's begin. The next song that I'm using is called This Is Me. It's from the Greatest Showman soundtrack. For this choreography, I did utilize some ASL choreography. It might not be right on point, so you might have to forgive me for that. But I attempted to use a little bit of choreography that I use, and then also put a little bit of ASL choreography as well. So let's get started. What I typically do, I verbalize what the choreography is. I have them stand on their spots. Make sure they are arm's length distance from another person. Make sure they have deep breaths because they know that they are getting started with paying attention. Usually about 3 rounds of deep breaths, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And then we begin. And I say, eyes and ears on me. We do use similar format as based on the age range. They're with the younger crowd, I will say 0-0 developmentally if they're younger. Or I'll clap my hands, or I will say something that requires them to say something back, showing that they are paying attention. Okay, so to begin, the first step is hugging yourself, and then you release, and then you take 4 wide steps beginning with this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to release again. Put your hands on your hips and turn. Good. And then we're going to release your hands. Hands cover your face. Hands flick twice over your face. And then you're going to snake down and rest on one knee, hands on the other knee. Windmill arms back. And put your hand over your head like you're so tired. And jump up, run back, and hug yourself. And bring your arms back when you say, I love you. Okay, so the way I describe the instructions, it would have to give a picture. There are a lot of imagery words in there, windmill arms, a lot of action words like jump up, run back, so they can understand how quick or how slow something should be, how emphatic a step should be, and also words. A lot of times, especially if the song has words that are very, very louder in one part than another part, I will say that you do this step for these words. So let's try that with the music so you can see what I was talking about. Oh, sorry, I gotta raise the volume. Step, 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 step. I'm not a stranger to the dark. Flip, flip, snake, down on knee, windmill, jump up, run, love you, good. Okay, so I usually do that a couple rounds so they can get the speed down and muscle memory about which step comes next. I might change around the words till I can see that there is a better understanding of what step comes next or how they're positioning their arms or legs. And I typically write down after class is done what wording or phrases I've used for my choreography. So that's not necessarily typical of choreographers, but I do it for my classes because I do know that if I change the wording around at the next class, a lot of my students will call me out on it, or they'll get confused because they will say, oh, you said something differently. I thought you meant this step. So that's another note to take about teaching choreography is that you have to be consistent. So moving forward, after that move, you're back here, you're saying, love you no matter. You're going to sidestep and snap your fingers. And I usually give this a count. I believe the count is 4. Might be wrong, maybe 6. We'll do it with the music. When she says glorious, you're going to give me 2 perfect symbols with your hands. Put them at the edge of your mouth and bring them out to make the big sun. So perfect sun, glorious. And then the next part is where the sign language choreography comes into play. So the sign language is when, that's the palm across your cheek, the sharpest, like you're chopping wood, sharpest words, show them a little. Want to cut the scissors, you down. Next is pulling from your chest out forward. Drown them out. You're pulling something from the other hand down. When the sharpest one is going to cut you down, we're going to drown them out. I am brave. I am bruised. I am who I am meant to be. This is me. It's a little fast, so we will go over it a couple of times. So from here, from the I love you, no matter what. So love you, sidestep and snap, and then glorious like the sun. When the sharpest words want to cut you down. Oh, I'm going to drown them out. I am brave. I am bruised. I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. So we'll try just that part again, and then we'll go over that a couple of times, and then we'll do it from the beginning again. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's try that last bit again because I know sign language choreography takes a little bit more effort and memorization, and it's very fast. So we'll do that a little bit again, one more time, and then we're going to do it again from the beginning. Okay, now we're going to try it from the beginning.
All right, so that is the end of this session. I know it didn't quite finish the video, but it will be on YouTube for you to watch. I know there are some issues with the links this morning. Do head to our website. They're all on the list. You use those ones. Those ones are working the best. If you have any other questions as well, help desk is available. There's people there, and have a great day. Hope to see you again at another session. Thank you.